Hey everyone, welcome back. I am super excited because I have with me one of my favorite guests, one of my favorite
Mhm.
people, Dr. Amelia Kelley. You have heard her on
Hello.
the show
Mhm.
numerous times. Dr. Kelley is a trauma-informed therapist, author, TEDx Raleigh speaker, and host of the Sensitive Doctor podcast, which I have also been on. Thank you very much. She specializes in trauma recovery, adult ADHD, and highly sensitive persons using approaches like IFS, EMDR, and brain spotting. She runs a women's ADHD support group and contributes to Psychology Today and Highly Sensitive Refuge. You can learn more about all the things that Dr. Kelley does at Amelia Kelley with an EY, KELLEY.com, or follow her on the socials at Dr. Amelia Kelley. Amelia, thank you so much. Welcome back. Thanks for being here.
Yay. I'm so excited to talk to you. I haven't talked to you in forever, so this is just exciting on so many levels.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's been too long. But so today we're going to talk about using your trauma responses
hmm
for you. So
hmm
being fight, flight, fawn, freeze, or fawn, right? A lot of
hmm
people don't know. I think the fawn one has become a little bit more popular of late, but it didn't sort of start that way, right? It
Right.
started out as just the three Fs, and now there's this fawn. Can you talk about that? Like, is that something that was added later, or is it just one that we never really talked about that much?
It was absolutely, I mean, it's funny to say added, but I think it was recognized further down the line for the very nature of what it is, because it's
Yeah.
internal, right?
Mm, mm.
So you're not going to necessarily, it's interesting in psychology, we call some of these symptoms positive versus negative. So a positive symptom doesn't mean like it's good for you. It just means it's one that you can see.
Uh-huh.
Whereas negative is one that's the absence of something, like the absence of self-care or things like that. So fawning essentially is the absence of emotionally individuating, the absence of speaking
Mm.
up, the absence of having your own opinion and disagreeing and being your own unique person.
Yep.
hmm
Yes. Interesting, right? It is, I mean, it's literally that sort of fawn, right? Like
Right.
it's the people pleasing. It's the
hmm
I'll do anything you want so that I can remain safe.
Right. Right. And it really is, if you think about it, like the root system for codependency
Yeah, exactly.
as
Mm-hmm.
well. And
Mm-hmm.
one other thing that I think is something to consider about fawn and why I think sometimes it's a little bit subcategorized,
Mm.
besides the first three that are more familiar. I'm not saying this is all the time, and this is what we're going to unpack today. Like, can you control your trauma responses? Can you not? What does that sound like? What does research say?
Right.
Stay tuned, everyone.
Stay
But
stay tuned.
but I will say what I have seen clinically and what I've read is that fawn normally shows up when the other trauma responses don't work.
Ah, that's really interesting that the
hmm
fawn takes over when the other ones are not working, right? And
hmm
how do you, and so it does speak to that there is some mechanism happening where you're like, oh, I checked that box, check that box, check that box. I guess what's left is this box
hmm
in a
hmm
sense. So, okay, well, let's talk about that. Like, is your trauma response at all, like, can you choose which you
hmm
do, which you
hmm
sort of comes up first.
hmm So I'm going to say yes and no, and I'll
Okay.
explain why.
Yeah.
And actually that's the beauty of I think what we're going to learn today about how can you use the response for your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So by the very nature of what trauma does, it creates a flood in the brain and in the body where, as many of us know, it feels like tunnel vision. It can feel like everything slips away other than whatever that situation, that person, that scary tone of voice, that whatever really unsettles you, and it can make us feel crazy or irrational, these trauma
Yeah.
responses.
Sure.
What makes them not within our conscious control, aside from the fact that they're governed by a deep, deep reptilian part of the brain, the limbic system and the amygdala and all these fear centers, is that they happen so fast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think people may, why we need to really understand why they're not in our control. Because that would almost
Yeah.
be like us knowing before someone's going to hit our car that they're going to hit our car so
Yeah.
that we can avoid the accident before it's even happening. Like it would have to be that fast.
Which is what we so often expect of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I work with clients on this, and I'm sure you have the same thing, is that the sort of self flagellation for not having the quote right trauma response
Right.
is just as unreasonable as expecting yourself to know before the car, like, right? To be able to have that level of,
Absolutely.
and so if you are listening or watching right now and you are feeling like you have the quote wrong trauma response,
Mm-hmm.
just imagine if you had the wrong response to getting into a car accident. Like that would make
Right.
like almost no sense, right?
It literally makes no sense at all. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the no.
That's the no. And
Hmm.
I do think also before we like dive too deep into this pool, it might be helpful too to make sure that people understand what these responses are.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Yep. Hmm.
Only because they sound like one thing, but they can look like another thing.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Right.
Okay. So let's go
So
through them.
right, fight. And it's funny, I always wonder, is it just because everything sounds nice in this order? But if you look at technically the way that we might show up to something initially, we may try to fight back first,
Yeah. Okay.
if you think about it. And if it's
Sure.
not working, then, but we'll
Hmm.
start with fight. So, fight response, as many of us could imagine, could look like things like feeling and acting aggressively, yelling, screaming, physical types of fight. However, fight can also look like kind of like, how do I put it? Sometimes when I think about my trauma response, if someone was doing something to my child and I say the mama bear shows up,
Right.
right?
Yes.
That's a trauma response. That's the
100%.
fight response.
100%. It can also
Hmm.
look like really bad behavior
Right.
in an abusive relationship, right? So I
Absolutely.
always think about, and this is, one of those examples that I think lives in our cultural consciousness now. I
Hmm.
always think about Amber Heard and her like the
Mm.
shitting in the bed story,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And or the number of ways that she fought back. She was a fighter in her
Yeah.
relationship with Johnny Depp.
Hmm.
And I think we are starting to understand now, and there's more of a wider acceptance that he is a abusive piece of shit.
Hmm.
Um, and for her to leave shit in their bed was actually, appropriate. But anyway, but it was just like, but she behaved badly. Her
Hmm.
trauma response was she was always fighting in some way. And
Yes.
then it made her look like the abuser. It was,
Hmm.
have them coin this non-existent term, mutual abuse, right? And so
Hmm.
often I think a fight response can just look like bad behavior. And then we question ourselves and we're like, well, I did these things too.
Right.
I wasn't perfect. I
Hmm.
did, I fought back yeah, yeah, you
Yeah,
did.
of
It's called
course.
self-defense.
I hear this so often in my office where someone will say, actually, this just happened tonight. I was talking to a client who had gone on a family vacation with her sisters and her husband, and all of them were behaving badly. Everyone was misbehaving just emotionally and putting so much pressure on her. And then she was feeling guilty because she felt like she ruined their time with her mood. And I'm like, no, no, let's pull back and notice that
Right.
you're responding to the behavior that you're around and that you're being exposed to. And so if you
Right.
feel like, and I love that you brought that up too, because I reflect on, I mean, personally, my my first long-term relationship that did not work out. One of the reasons why I decided, okay, we mutually decided to end that relationship was because I didn't like how I was behaving in it.
Right. That's right. When you don't like who you are in the
Right.
relationship, right? Like
Right.
chances are you're behaving in ways that are inconsistent with who you are. And there might be a
Exactly.
reason for that. That might actually be a clue that there's some
Mhm.
abuse or something happening
Right.
in the relationship that's not healthy.
Right. And I think one other thing to remember with the fight response is that it doesn't always, and actually often, when it is a trauma response that is historic, meaning it's not happening when something
Yes.
is happening to you in the moment,
Yeah.
it can be any sensory input. It can be even an idea. It
Hmm.
can be a rumination
Hmm.
that can throw you into a fight response.
Mm,
And
hmm.
so that's something to consider too. It doesn't have to be you did A, now I'm going to do B. And that's why the kind of more subconscious, subcortical nervous system level of these trauma responses are what they are.
Right.
Hmm.
Yep. Yep.
So that's fight.
That's right.
Then we have flight.
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of people I work with, I'm admittedly, I think this is one of my my responses I tend to go into quite often. Flight is so interesting because we think it sounds like getting out of there.
Book it. Right. Hightail it out. Hmm.
Right. And sometimes that is the case, but more often it looks like overproductivity, seemingly over functioning. Um, am I calling you out? No.
Whatever. Whatever, Amelia.
It can, I really stressed the word seemingly there. But it but if you feel like being still is uncomfortable, if you feel like rest is a threat,
Yeah,
then flight response is likely what you're experiencing.
that's right.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Freeze. This is one that like it hits my heart because so many people I work with, so many survivors
Yeah.
have experienced this response
Yep.
and asked. It causes this question of why didn't I do A, B, C to save myself? But we have to remember that on an animalistic level, sometimes doing nothing is safer than doing something,
That's right. That's right.
right?
I mean, it really is
Yeah.
like if you think of animals, right? You've got
Mm-hmm.
a deer in headlights, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a freeze, make myself as small as possible so I don't get eaten by the bear, so I don't whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in the cases of abusive relationships, it is sometimes it is the safest thing you can do.
It really is. And when we think about what this looks like kind of in the everyday life or in the historic trauma response where maybe you've had a trigger or something happen,
Hmm.
it's not just physically freezing. It can
No.
be freezing on not being able to pay your bills or answer that phone call or do the things you need to do that actually would make you feel better.
Right.
But your
Right.
body and your mind and your heart just feel so locked up and
Like
it's hard
you,
to move out of that.
yes. And you know, I talk about having experienced this. I think you and I have definitely talked about it, but I don't know if it
Mhm.
was on a recording or not. But I think I'm allowed to say that Amelia was my therapist for quite a while. So you know, um, I definitely experienced this when I was triggered when my ex-husband's infidelities with
Mhm.
his were revealed in his second marriage, and it
Mhm.
triggered so much. And I was in such a freeze state; I couldn't function, and it
Mhm.
was like I couldn't. And it was like there was brain fog. There
Mhm.
was like almost like a separation between me and anything that had to be done. Like I was like the world was like through thick glass,
It's a
and
good description. Yeah.
I couldn't get off the couch. I
Mhm.
would have to work, but I would just sit and like stare at my computer screen. I was
Mhm.
non-functional, and it went on for a couple weeks
Mhm.
until I was like, that's when I've talked about this many times in the podcast. That's when I took myself to the meadows because I was like,
Mhm.
obviously, I need some serious trauma,
Mhm.
some
Mhm.
serious trauma work here. Um,
Mhm.
you know, it's very real. And
Mhm.
not at all something that I could have gotten myself out of.
Mm.
Like I,
And one other thing to consider too with the freeze response, and I don't know if knowing your history, if this might have been why freeze is something that your body
mm-hmm,
does.
mm-hmm,
If you are someone with an already sensitive nervous system, whether it be because you're highly
mm-hmm.
sensitive or because you have ADHD or you're on spectrum or something along those lines,
All of
traumatic
the
brain
above. Yeah.
injury. Well, not the TBI, but
No, no, no. Right. No,
right,
not
but
TBI.
right, not TBI, but that can, from what I've seen, make it more likely where the overwhelm can lead to freeze.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because you're already doing more thinking, you're already churning, you're already flighting so much, or just having these types of unique brains, and then you add the trauma in. And if you think about it, this is where our conversation is probably going to lead today, where there's actually some gratitude around these responses.
Yeah.
There's some understanding and compassion for why they happen, which is
Mhm.
part of changing how we relate to them.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. I love that. Yeah, like I am now in hindsight, I think,
Hmm.
grateful that my system shut down because if I had to feel and process the trauma that was being triggered in that moment,
Hmm.
I don't like all of it at once, I couldn't have
Right.
processed it. I
Right.
couldn't.
Hmm. Right. It makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean, our bodies are so incredibly powerful and unique. I mean, I even think about the way we sleep after something traumatizing
Ooh, like
or
the dead.
don't sleep.
I
Do
sleep.
you sleep well or you don't sleep well?
I sleep like the dead.
Really? I'm like the complete
Yes.
opposite. Like I'm just maybe I'll get one remin and I'm up.
Mm-mm. I am
That's
out.
incredible.
I would be out for a long time. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
see, that shows it's not like you and I are saying, you know what? Tonight I'm going to sleep really well to help me with this trauma. Check. Like you don't get to
No,
decide.
I don't get to decide. No.
Mm-mm.
And often it'll be like in the middle of the day. Like I cannot stay
Mm.
awake, you know,
Mhm.
is part of my,
Mhm.
I think, freeze response too. Like or flee, right? I'm fleeing to bed.
Well, this is interesting if we use ourselves as guinea pigs here or
Hmm.
like little case studies, because if
Hmm.
you are, from what I've seen and from what you're saying, someone who gets into a freeze response,
Hmm.
it almost makes sense to me where sleep, which is kind of dissociating from the trauma
Right.
for a period of
Right.
time,
Yes.
would be where your nervous system goes, whereas my response is much more fight flight,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
my flight would
You're
not permit me to sleep.
right. Gotcha. Right. That makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. That does make
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we bring more consciousness to these responses
Hmm.
and then use them to our benefit?
Okay, so I love that. Let's start with the first question. I like that because I do think it can be helpful, especially if you're experiencing this, to have like a very clear guide on how to do it. And then we can talk about what that might look like in action.
Okay.
Um, so first and foremost is probably listening to an episode like this. First and foremost is knowing what they are. I mean, we
Yes.
know we have to be able to name something.
Yes.
In ACT therapy, the acceptance and commitment therapy, which I know in your fabulous book, I'm pretty sure you referenced some kind of like just not enmeshing with your feelings as
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
much.
uh-huh.
I
Okay.
remember I remember being like, get it, girl, with the ACT. I don't think you called it that, but you were kind of dabbling with it.
Okay.
Um, One of the really powerful things about naming something, it's not just, oh, it's great, you've expressed your feelings. It's actually that it gives you perspective and you don't
Yes.
over personalize or personify what it is.
Yes, I think I talk about this in the inner critic part of my book
Mhm.
about sort of like
Yes.
naming it and othering it, that it
Yes.
is something outside of yourself. This is not,
Right.
you are not these feelings. Yes, I
Yes.
think that's where it is. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Bingo.
Yes.
You're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I did write that.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
Good job.
Thanks.
But that's really powerful because if we think about the nature of a trauma response, it remains traumatic as long as it pulls us out of our balance. As
Mm-hmm.
soon
Mm-hmm.
as we can identify, just like with gaslighting, which you and I have talked about before,
Yep.
once we can name it and separate it, and with some of my clients, I'll even say you can imagine the trauma response up on like a movie screen if you want.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Sit back with your little popcorn, nestle into your imaginary chair and watch it. So you're not denying it's there, but you're naming it.
That's right. I like
So
that.
that's absolutely step one is naming it.
Mm-hmm.
Step two, and this is why I think some people confuse these two steps. What we're hoping to do is to change course, but you have to be doing some sort of grounding thing first to bring you back in the present.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you
You
have
have
to.
to. Yeah, you
You
can't.
have to.
Yeah, right.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to look different for everyone. I mean, for me, the naming it is grounding, but then following it up with whether it be a breath, a scream, a movement. And this is where we're going to get creative. If you can have your grounding skill be the opposite action of your trauma response,
Oh, interesting.
yes,
Uh-huh. Okay.
you will be more quickly and more stably grounded.
That makes perfect sense. And it's also brilliant. So if
Mhm.
you are in if you're in flight,
Yes,
it's ground yourself here in this
right.
moment, touch the ground, like literally
Yes,
grounding, right?
yes.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So what are some examples like if you're in fight,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got one for you. You
go
ready?
for it.
If
Yes.
you're in fight, and I also want to be mindful with this as well. In yin yoga, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and vinyasa yoga. So vinyasa and hatha, you're moving a lot. Yin is very slow and calm. If I have a client come in and they're really ramped up, I'm not going to say, lay down on the ground, shavasana, relax, and be still. Like, we're not going to go there so quickly.
Gotcha.
So
Right.
we need a step towards there. So we'll get there. We'll get to the ultimate relaxation, but we're just edging towards it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're in fight,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you're screaming and you're upset, still say the words, but try whispering or
Interesting. Okay. Got it.
slow your words down.
Mm,
So our nervous system is reading all this input all the time. So if we are just furious with someone and we're raising our voice and we're tensing everything, choose one aspect of your fight response to relax. So it could be, I'm going to still yell at you, but I'm going to relax my jaw. Or I'm going to still say what I have to say, but I'm going to slow it down a little.
uh-huh.
That's just the step towards the final part of it is then doing something truly grounding. So, okay, I'm yelling. I've literally done this before. I mean, my husband can attest where I'm like really mad about something. And I'm like, okay, hold on. I'm still really mad at you, but, and then I finish what I have to say because he's got to listen. And then, and then I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me just take a breath or let me take a break. So I'm not going from anger to complete relaxation. I'm doing a step that's
Yeah.
opposite action in between point one to point three, to like
Gotcha.
beginning of the response to the end of the response.
Gotcha. Right. You're bringing yourself down a notch so that you can
Gradually.
bring yourself back down.
Right.
And by the way, you can do this an argument with your husband because he's a
hmm
safe person. You're
Totally.
just mad at him for something that has happened
I
or
mean, probably something
whatever
stupid.
or triggered or whatever,
Right.
right? Yeah, probably something
hmm
to get right. But he's a safe person. This is not,
Right.
you do not want to necessarily pull yourself out of, or maybe you do,
hmm
but we can sort of, I think that's sort of using this for anyway,
Right.
that's sort of step two, right? Because you don't necessarily want to pull yourself out of a trauma response in the middle of an unsafe
hmm
situation because your trauma response is protecting you from that situation.
To a degree, I think
Okay.
that's one of the things a lot of people kind of confuse about the response. Well, I
Mhm.
always do this, so this is eventually going to work.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't mean it that way. Right.
Right, right.
No.
No,
Yes.
however, that you bring up a really good point because yes, I would feel comfortable doing it with him, but, and this is an interesting thing I'm reflecting on just in our conversation, I'm less likely to have a fight response with him. I'm sorry, I'm less likely with someone who I don't feel as safe with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But again, this is when we're bringing consciousness to our response because if I'm in a situation where I'm not feeling safe at all, the first thing I notice is my stomach flips.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the very first thing. And the
Yeah.
next thing is if I'm feeling very unsafe, well, no, you know what? I'm going to be honest, it might be flight because I was volunteering in Ghana like, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. And we were, thank you for the surplus package that I used for that. I don't know if you remember those like checks that went out, like, this is gonna fix everything. And I'm like, I'm gonna go to Africa. Um, but I was out with the volunteers and there was this group of, you can probably see where this is going, this group of guys who were showing us this like rope trick. And they're
Uh-huh.
doing like, oh, look, this is how it, I'm like, so stupid. I'm like, oh, looking, and I have my purse over to
Uh-huh.
the left.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Someone swipes it.
Sure.
At first, I actually froze for like a half a second. And then in my brain, I thought, my camera with all my pictures. So I ran after him. Like, the worst thing you can do.
The
I'm
word, yeah.
screaming. The whole village wakes up. It's a whole thing. So in the moment, I actually fought
Yes.
and flew. I guess I flighted.
You've
But there was a whole thing that transpired after this with, I mean, it was straight out of a movie. At one point, I'm sleeping with a machete under my pillow. It's a thing.
wow.
I'll have to tell you the whole story sometime. The rest of my trip, I actually felt pretty frozen. Like I did not
Yeah.
feel that because it didn't work. I tried that fight flight subconsciously, not even thinking about it, not
Yes.
realizing it.
Uh-huh.
And it didn't work. I still felt unsafe and I just started to kind of shell in on myself. And I remember not taking a full deep breath until those wheels lifted off the ground heading back to New York like 3 weeks later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So sometimes our typical trauma response that we would display in a situation where we feel safer
Yeah.
is going to look and feel different in a situation where we don't. And I
Yeah.
say this to your survivors and folks who are in the midst of a relationship that is abusive or that they're trying to get out. Please don't compare the way that your response is showing up here where you're feeling unsafe to
Right.
maybe a way it showed up earlier in your life and you're saying, "Why am I not doing that?"
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah, you're
Mhm.
doing the best you can in this moment, right?
Right.
Uh,
Mhm.
and that's the most important thing, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
We can't don't use you don't beat yourself up for your trauma response, right? Like that's just as we said
Right.
earlier. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So okay, so some other I'm just a fight, flight, freeze and fawn. So the other ways to bring yourself down a notch based
Mhm.
on the other.
Okay.
So
Right.
if you're frozen,
Well, what do you think? I'm going to quiz you. What do you think it would be?
I think it would be shaking, like
Movement. Yeah.
movement. Yeah,
Movement.
shaking it out.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Hmm.
there's even a literal intervention called Shake It Off that
Right.
is based on research that you can use any music or no music. I love recommending shamanic drums because it has
Hmm.
a very like biological rhythm to it.
Yes.
And you start with a little bit, and maybe all you're shaking is one finger. Maybe you're just doing that one finger and you're just looking at it. And then you're like, okay, I can get my hands going and get my arms going.
Hmm.
And then hopefully, eventually, everything is
Hmm.
going. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
but remember again that gradual, right? We're not going from completely frozen to, having a dance party, which is really the goal. And
Yeah.
so I think some people think, well, what is shaking going to do with helping me, have that tough conversation with my boss that I keep freezing on?
Hmm.
It will help your nervous system be ready for the thing. We can't think our way into unfreezing because the freeze is physical.
Right. Yes.
Mhm.
That's right.
Mhm.
All trauma lives in our body. That's what we know at this point. That all of the
Absolutely.
thinking and talking doesn't get us out of it. It is the
Mhm.
physical manifestation. That's why
Mhm.
we do
Mhm.
EMDR. That's why we do, right? Because it's all physical and the grounding and all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, even talking is physical. Like, isn't it funny that we ever
That we've
separated
decided those
that?
are separate. It's
Like,
so
this is
funny.
this part of my body. This
Yes,
is this
right.
part.
Well,
Oh, wait, vocal cords. We'll put that up there too.
yeah, I mean it's sort of like health insurance, right? Like our mouth and our eyes aren't included.
Like,
So
whatever. Yeah, isn't that
whatever.
stupid? No, I thank you. I
Dumb.
never even thought about that.
Right. Oh, okay. My bad teeth is going to cause heart disease, but my gum disease will cause heart disease, but we're not going to worry about that. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
separate
no
issue.
problem.
No
No
problem.
problem. Eye closest to the brain, whatever.
Whatever. It's fine. Healthcare in the US. So, okay. And then for fawn,
Hmm.
if you have a fawn response, what would the opposite of sort of that fawn be that would help
So
you pull out a little bit?
this is where practicing things that may feel like they're not a big deal, but they really are,
Mm,
is important. And then number two, if it's possible, your environment plays a big role for this one.
okay.
Okay. So step number one, this is a thing I do with my clients a lot who are in fawn response.
Mm,
I give them the homework that between now and next session, I need you to disagree with someone.
yes.
Anyone. And it could be over something mundane like I don't like that food or
Hmm.
whatever it is.
Hmm.
If anyone of your listeners read What I Wish I Knew, which was my first book that connected us,
Yes, yes, yes.
Kendall Ann talks about how she was so stuck in the fawn response that she was at the grocery store after she left her abuser before literally almost being killed by him. And she just was in a puddle of tears in the soda aisle because she forgot what kind of soda she liked.
Mm.
And she had to ask this random guy who was walking down the aisle, "What are you buying?" Like she couldn't even like gather, what
Wow.
is it that I want?
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. I love that. So it's disagree with someone and or maybe sort of asking yourself, what do I like? What do I
Yes.
want?
Right.
I that was a classic of mine when I
Was
was
it?
married and all growing up. Absolutely, because no one cared about what I liked. No one cared what I wanted. Nobody, right? Like if I
Mm.
didn't like a food, it was wrong or all of the things, right? And so
Hmm.
I was not allowed to individuate
Hmm.
growing up. And then I married somebody who also didn't want me to individuate, right? And so
Right.
I had we would go to a restaurant. We would, living in New York and growing up in New York, you walk down the street and you look at the menus at at the places
Right.
outside. And, you just sort of look at the menu and decide. And I would stand back because
Mm.
I didn't know what I wanted. Well,
Yeah.
I'll have what you have. Sure, it's fine. I don't know.
Right.
What's your favorite color? I don't
Yeah.
know. What's yours? Right? That was really my
Right.
response to everything. I had so
Hmm.
little sense of self that I didn't know what I wanted to eat. And so, really practicing
Right.
intentionally, what do I want to eat today? And I would be
Yeah.
frozen in it
Right.
because I didn't know. Right. But I would force.
Mhm.
So, I like what you're talking about practicing, building the
Hmm.
muscle of
Yes.
choice for yourself.
Yes. And I would say to when you're frozen, not knowing what to order on the menu, start wringing your hands
Mm, hmm.
or rubbing them together. Or if you're
Hmm.
someone who likes tapping, like doing movement
Uh-huh.
and then trying at it again. And also, I love that you said individuate because I've always said emotional individuation. It's something that I'm a strong proponent for. And
Absolutely.
if you feel like you're walking away from our chat today and you're still like, what do I want? That's where in the
Great.
same book, I talked a lot about like dating yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of how, I mean, that's how we get to know our future partners. Like, what's your favorite movie? What's your this? What's your that? What if we played the 20 questions game with ourselves? You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
even if just mentally.
Right.
So the other factor of this fawn response, though, is environment. So
Hmm.
I really think people, like, hopefully are hearing that a lot of this is totally subconscious, out of your control.
Hmm.
But let's think about the fact that our attachment styles are dependent on our relationships,
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah.
They're
Right.
very pliable. They move and they shape with who we're around. Your fawn response is the same.
Yes. Yes. That's
Hmm.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And I would have said, when I was, I don't know, years ago, I would have said, like, oh, I'm definitely having an anxious attachment style.
Hmm.
Well, I'm, marrying someone who is incredibly securely attached to me, and I am very
Hmm.
securely attached. I'm completely secure because the dude
Hmm.
isn't avoidant
Right.
and he's not
Exactly.
anxious. He is
Right.
like, he is steady, right?
Hmm.
Like, that's what
I'm so
you're
happy
right.
for you.
Oh, thank you, honey. I know, me too. He is. He is constant and consistent and steady.
Yeah, that's
And
so
so
awesome.
I am too,
Hmm.
because I don't have to, like, I'm not being triggered.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I know you're highly sensitive, and that makes even more sense that if someone listening is highly sensitive or considers themselves to be an empath, and they tend towards the fawn response, which
Yeah.
is typical for people who are highly empathic,
Yeah.
it's even more important that the people you're around allow you to have your own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So like I like to if anyone has through hiked before, like when you stop at the different stops, you shake down your pack for anything you don't need because it's too heavy and why would you carry it? It's almost
Interesting.
like shake down your relationships. Take a look.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. Do that
Get
anyway.
rid of the empty wrappers and
Get
I'm just
rid of the dead weight. Jesus
yes.
Christ. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I think I love that, like, the environment does matter, and it does
Hmm.
matter who you're surrounding yourself with as you are testing this, because if you're like, you're going to tell your client to go away and disagree with somebody, but not the person who's abusing them. Maybe.
Right, exactly.
Right?
No, I would never. And that's why
Right.
sometimes if I have clients who are like, who do I practice with? I've literally said
Me.
the cat, well, yes and no, because I am definitely a safe space.
Right.
Like we start from the very jump. Like actually today, that client I was talking about who had the kind of conflict oriented I'm laughing at myself because this is definitely a moment I had said her husband's name and her stepdaughter's name, and I totally said the wrong name. Like
Oh,
not my client, but like her stepdaughter's name.
yeah.
And then 2 seconds later, I look at her, I go, wait, who is that? I just said the wrong name. And she goes, oh, yeah, I heard you, but I just figured, end of the day. And I looked at my client, I was like, no, I want you to tell me. Like,
That's
if
right.
I say the wrong name, you can tell me. So, yes, I agree. Like, you definitely want to have a trauma-informed therapist who encourages your emotional individuation in session. And
Mhm.
I always tell my folks, what you practice with me, I need you to practice it outside of here too.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I've said, like, find a nice, energetic, like someone with nice energy, like a cashier, even. If they say they're checking the groceries and they say, oh, have you ever tried this before? Just simply like, no, I don't really like peanuts or whatever. It doesn't have to
Right.
be confrontational,
Right. Yes.
even though
Just
confrontation is fine.
right, but it is owning your self. Your
Yes.
capital S self. Oh, I don't
Right.
like peanuts. And then you're like, oh my God, I don't like peanuts. And I said it. I said I don't like peanuts. And then you're like,
Yes.
I am a person who
Hmm.
doesn't like peanuts. And
Right.
there's something very simple and extremely powerful. The first few
Agreed.
times you own
Hmm.
yourself as someone who you're like,
Right.
I don't like peanuts. You
Stop
know?
giving me your paydays. No, just
That's
kidding.
right. Oh,
I
yeah.
don't like paydays, and maybe that's why it came to my
I
mind.
don't like nuts in my desserts. I like nuts, they're fine. But
Oh,
don't put nuts in my brownie, don't put nuts in my chocolate
that's
bar.
so funny. I
That is
love
a
nuts and stuff.
dilution of the no. That's, to me, that's diluting all the fun of it.
Now, do you see how I was like, oh, that's funny, but I don't like that. But I do
But I
like
like that.
like
Right.
that's you and I having our own individual identities. Like we don't need to, and if you really think about it too, we don't need to always agree. That's part of emotional maturity because when we think about people who do constantly agree with each other, we're thinking about teenagers and younger who are
Yes.
looking so deeply at others around them to figure out their identity,
Yes. That's right.
right? And
That's
we don't
right.
want to be allowing people to treat us that way.
And I'm not threatened by the fact that you like my
Oh, so
identity.
I like nuts. I don't like cooked fruit in dessert. Like a
Interesting.
pineapple upside down cake or something.
Oh,
Not a
interesting.
fan. Not a
Okay.
fan.
Okay.
Do you like that?
I do. I do. And
See?
I like minced meat, which is minced meat,
Oh,
which is not meat. It's like raisins and apples, like cooked
nope. I
stew.
don't like that either.
Wait, you don't like apple pie?
I only like apple pie if it's like overly sweet and kind of like I like pumpkin pie.
Oh, I don't like pumpkin pie.
See, a very opposite dessert taste.
And neither one of us has our identity threatened by the fact that the
No,
other doesn't
no,
like, right, exactly. Exactly.
super normal.
Yes, totally normal. Okay, so Amelia, I think we've covered like what these responses are, how you can bring yourself down from them
Yes. Hmm.
when safe and appropriate.
Right.
How do we use them to our benefit?
Okay. This is something that is just so near and dear to my heart that I've been doing with clients. I don't know. I'll have to Google search. This is probably out in the world, but we're going to bring it to you guys today. What I like to do with these trauma responses is look at their unique character traits and what are they doing to your nervous system when you are doing them? And
Okay.
what is a behavior that is not unsafe, but a behavior that you enjoy or that you can excel at or that you can do that is similar to the trauma response?
Okay, examples. Give me examples.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Once I start unpacking this, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
If your response is a fight mode, right? And if
Hmm.
your response is to mama bear and to like stand up for justice and to you're just like I'm clenching. Well, you're probably going to be someone that would be really well served to maybe join a volunteer movement where you can
I
fight
see.
for something you believe in, or you can join a kickboxing class,
I was gonna
or
say
you can,
boxing.
right?
Yeah,
So
totally.
take your fight response. I told you I tend towards fight flight. I also work out every day because
Hmm.
when I do, my body is in a much better state.
Yeah, same.
So take your fight response and channel it into something that excites you and creates activation.
Hmm.
So before we were talking about how to
Oh,
bring
okay.
yourself down off of the like
Yeah,
quote
yeah.
response.
Uh-huh.
But now we're saying if you feel like you want to fight, you can feel the tension rising and or it's just good. I call it almost like trauma hygiene.
Is it like conditioning? Like I'm conditioning myself to like
My
if I
nervous
have a fight or
system.
flight, right? And I'm boxing every day or whatever,
Right.
I'm kind of conditioning myself so that fight flight doesn't completely hijack me.
Totally.
That's what
Yeah.
you're
I
saying.
mean,
Fascinating.
I'm a big
Yes. Okay, that makes
cycler
sense.
and I have this thing where I say like with cycling you're kind of like in this rhythm
Hmm.
and if
Hmm.
I'm just in a fight mode, I will think to myself, take it out on the road, take it out on the road, take it out on the road. Like that's
Uh-huh.
fight. I
Right.
remember once a long time ago, I was kind of just coming to fruition about some generational trauma that I have experienced and I remember we were driving, this might have been back when I lived in the mountains and I asked my then fiance, can you just pull over? There's a golf course right there. I have an idea. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, I'm not a golfer. P.S.
Yeah,
He
okay.
pulls over. I get out. I didn't say a word. I just get out. I go buy a bucket of balls. I put them down on the ground and I just start putting them down and smacking the hell out of them. They were terrible, guys. I was like, no, I was not Tiger Woods or Happy Gilmore. Like, it was not a good, it's not a good look. But I was imagining those traumas in every single one of those and hitting the hell out of them.
Oh, I love that.
And
Yeah.
it felt good. I mean, so this could look
Yes.
like going into the woods and screaming on the top of your lungs. This could look like throwing rocks across the river as far as you can, because who are you
Going
going to hurt doing
to
that?
Yeah, I recommend my clients who are in these states to go to a rage room. Like,
Yes, like
yeah,
totally. That's
go
amazing. Or
beat the shit out of something with a bat and an axe, like in a
if
safe
you are someone who
environment.
has done the quintessential throw the things outside the window, you
Yes,
are a fight mode person.
right. Go to a rage room.
Right. So there's
Oh,
that.
I love that. Okay, so that's fight.
It's almost a little more obvious. I feel like fight is one of the
Fight
more
is
obvious
obvious. Yep.
ones. Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
so
Flight.
flight.
Okay. I have a client of mine who, when she is experiencing that restless feeling, so that's how you know flight is going to start revving up. You're going to start feeling restless.
Mm-hmm.
she travels. Like she gets in her car, economically reasonable. She travels somewhere that excites her, that's interesting to her, and then she goes and does grounding things. Now, I'm not saying everyone can like hop in a car and drive to the beach every week, but you can take little adventures around where you live.
Yeah.
You can flight from your home and find your perfect spot to hang your hammock by a river nearby.
Mm.
Movement out of an area. So I think sometimes we vilify this action. We say, "Oh, you're just running away from your problems." Well, hell yeah, I'm running away from my problems. That's my trauma response. So
Right.
I'm going to do it consciously, though. I'm going to do it with intention.
Yes.
And this is
Yes.
an important one, I think, for people to recognize when they find in conflict they want to flight. Let your partner know ahead of time if they're a safe person. Let them know ahead of time, hey, my tendency is that I need to like hightail out. I notice I technically normally need like at least 4 to 5 hours. So I'm going to just go.
Yeah.
I would encourage having those kind of preemptive conversations before an actual conflict, though.
Mm.
Another thing is to allow your creativity to flow.
Mm.
With flight mode, utilizing creativity is another way to allow your brain to flight. So I think
Oh,
about,
interesting. Yes. Okay.
yes, I
Mm-hmm.
think about a lot of the famous artists
Mm.
in our history who
Mm.
are high producers.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess, experience flight mode.
Mm. Interesting. Right.
Hmm.
And creativity is sort of it's a grounding and sort of
Flow
help.
oriented,
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Yes. Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep, we want to do things that purposely get us into flow.
Mm-hmm.
So the client, I'm trying to think if I talked about this one, a different client of mine who has a tendency to use fight flight a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She was actually doing really well for a couple weeks when she was in one of the most stressful situations that she's been in the whole time I've gotten to work with her. And then as soon as the situation settled, she started doing her spin again where everything was horrible. She was going to die. Everyone hates her. Like it was just all the old scripts came back.
Oh, interesting.
And that's when I actually introduced this to her. Wait a minute, hold on. You were doing better when things were terrible. So, how can we simulate that fight flight for you in a
Mm.
way that works?
That's so interesting. That's really
Hmm.
interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, so freeze.
Freeze. Okay.
Move.
Freeze. What?
I said
Don't
move.
move. No,
Move.
don't move. Don't
Don't
move.
move. Oh, don't move because
Don't
oh,
move.
right. I see. Don't move because we're not trying to get out of it. We're trying to simulate it. Got it.
We're
Sorry.
trying to simulate it. No, that's
Okay.
okay. No, and I
Yes.
kind of love that you said that because some people might have thought that's where we're going, but
Right.
no, everyone,
No.
we're going to sit in it. So people who tend to freeze are going to be the ones who are better meditators, better mindful resters, mantra folks, people who can do different and I'm not just saying this because I know things about you, but it is probably part of why that's something that appealed to you.
Mm.
Things that help you feel very connected to the ground, whether it be literal ground and just
Mm-hmm.
stillness.
Yes.
So it sounds funny, but if your tendency is to freeze, I get grossed out by fishing. But fishing is an example of something that's very frozen, but very settling.
Oh, interesting. You
Hmm.
also recommended, remember that what's it called? The hair oil
Oh,
thing?
Shirodara.
Shirodara.
Love.
You made me. You recommended that I go do that.
Do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That was
that's
a
a good
very,
example. Anything that slows your nervous system down. So if you're already frozen,
mm-hmm.
there's a difference between what your nervous system feels like in freeze response versus what your nervous system feels like in a parasympathetic,
Mm-hmm.
regulated response.
Right.
And we need to teach the body that there's a bit of a difference between the two, just like the other responses we just talked about.
Gotcha.
When your big S self is in charge of what's happening, it feels very different.
That's right. Yes, this is why I love to go to the Korean spa and like,
Mm-hmm.
lie on the floor in the saunas and all of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. Yeah. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what that is for me. Okay. Fawn. So that
Okay.
we, yeah.
This one's like I'm almost dying to see if you did something where you put in like what do people think the answer is going to be.
I know it'd be really
So
interesting. Yep.
it would be interesting. Okay, so with fawn, this is where you're actually going to find your healers,
Hmm.
your guides, your
Okay.
shamanic, the people who get into different sort of things like Reiki
Um,
or or different human service practices, things like people who want to help get people together and mediate things and fix things, right?
okay.
It's pleasing to the heart and soul to feel like we have helped and
Yes.
fixed.
Uh-huh.
But if we're doing it with intentionality, if we
Mm.
choose something that makes us feel somatically grounded, but we also feel like we're being, because if you look at research on agreeableness, there are some positive kind of tribal continuation of our species with agreeableness. But agreeableness, when you experience trauma and when you've been in a traumatic relationship, is no good.
Right.
But what if you simulate it where you're doing things that make you feel like you're helping, healing, guiding, mediating? That's what the fawn response looks like when it is in its best form.
So are we talking about like being of service?
Essentially, yes.
Like doing good in your community, doing things for neighbors, doing right. So it's you're,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or even a meta meditation where you're like well wishing for someone. The
Hmm.
difference is that when you're in a fawn response, your immune system is not in its peak performance. So when you're in a fawn response, you're having high empathy. And I
Hmm.
think we've talked about maybe how high empathy reduces your immune response, constricts your blood vessels, causes inflammation, and can cause pain.
Cool.
Compassion is the opposite. Compassion is what happens when we metabolize empathy and we turn it into action. And it doesn't have to
Mm.
be, I'm going out and starting a nonprofit. It can be, I'm just doing a simple meta meditation. May you be happy, may you be kind, may you be at peace, something along those lines.
Mm.
And ideally, someday, and actually, what I like about meta meditation is you start with yourself.
Yeah.
I think we might have done it in one of your workshops with your folks, actually, now that I think
Oh,
about it.
did
I think we
we?
did it. I think we
Oh.
did it. Maybe. I don't know. I think we did.
I love that. I really
hmm
love that. And I love the idea that we can sort of harness these things and sort
hmm
of first of all, my mind is still blown by the like difference, the empathy, compassion difference there. So I'm gonna have to like process that for a minute. Um, but I think I just the entire concept of being at choice
hmm
with these things, because I know that like if I'm gonna go into a freeze like I do everything to avoid that, right?
hmm
But yet I also seek it out in these ways, right? By going
hmm
to the spa or whatever else, right? Or
Right, right.
um and so maybe that's why I'm seeking it, right? And so I think that to know that to be able to harness that more consciously and to
hmm
for people who are newer to this work and actually recognizing their trauma to be able to
Right.
give them these tools to become more at choice. I think this is brilliant. I think you
Awesome.
should write another book, Amelia.
I just might. It's funny. It's funny because these are actually concepts and things I've been using with my clients that I
Yeah.
have not shared with anyone yet. This is the first
Ta-da!
time I've talked about this, and it was
I love
all
it.
because we were spontaneously meeting.
I love it. This is so great. I think you should write a book about it. For those who don't know, Amelia's written like 700 books. She's just every time I,
Minus minus 696.
whatever. She's written 4 books, but whatever. Every time I talk to her, she's working on another book. So I think this is your next one, and I love it. Um, Amelia, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And just as a reminder, where can everyone find you?
Well, you can find me at ameliakelly.com, which by the time this episode comes out is going to be fully revamped with
Ooh,
lots of exciting things that you can do right there, finding out if you're highly sensitive, lots of different resources, podcast links to my favorite podcast episodes, which happen to be one of yours.
Woo!
Um, and I'm also pretty active on Instagram at Dr. Amelia Kelley, and that's Kelly with an EY. And when they go to my website, they can find all my things.
All
Like
the
I do
links.
trainings
Yeah.
on PESI, meditations on Insight Timer, just all the stuff.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Yay. Do it, guys. Obviously, she's brilliant.
Oh,
All right. Amelia, thank you so, so, so much.
awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited that we got to talk about this today.
Yeah, definitely.